you, Wendell. Season's greetings to our viewers and welcome to tonight's edition of the Regional News. We start off in Trinidad and Tobago. We will deport you. This was the message from Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley to Venezuelan migrants entering Trinidad and Tobago illegally. And I quote, "We have not taken a decision to register more Venezuelans. What we have also done, and the policy will stand at the time of registration, if you were not among those who were registered, who are here, who have come in over a period of time, if you were not among them and you turn up in Trinidad and Tobago, we will exercise our right to deport you. But of course, it is on a case-by-case basis," end of quote, Rowley said. Rowley made the statement during a morning show in Trinidad and Tobago. He also warned Venezuelan migrants who currently are registered that if they aid or abet their countrymen to come to TNT illegally, they too will be deregistered and deported. Last year, Trinidad and Tobago had a registration process for Venezuelan migrants. Just over 16,500 Venezuelan migrants were registered during that process. Rowley said this was evidence of TNT's humanitarian stance. Trinidad and Tobago recently deported 160 Venezuelan migrants who had entered the country illegally. UNAIDS is calling on countries to make far greater investments in global pandemic responses and adopt a new set of bold, ambitious, but achievable HIV targets as World AIDS Day 2020 is observed. The UN body said that the Caribbean will not meet the fast track set for the end of this year, noting that there were an estimated 330,000 people living with HIV in the region at the end of 2019. Overall, Caribbean adult HIV prevalence was 1.1% last year. In that year, 77% of people living with HIV in the Caribbean know their status, as compared to the worldwide average of 81%. Some countries have achieved elements of the 90-90-90 target, being 90% of people living with HIV aware of their HIV status, 90% of diagnosed people on antiretroviral treatment, and 90% of those on treatment virally suppressed. UNAIDS said Barbados has reached the target for testing, while Guyana has exceeded it, with 94% of people living with HIV diagnosed. Haiti has gotten 98% of diagnosed people on treatment, while Trinidad and Tobago and Suriname achieved viral suppression among at least 90% of people living with HIV who are on treatment. Last year, there were 6,900 AIDS-related deaths in the Caribbean. Deaths due to AIDS increased by 37% since 2010. Total antiretroviral treatment coverage for the region was 63-61% for women and 56% for men. New HIV infections decreased by 21. New HIV infections decreased by 29% in the region since 2010. One-third of new HIV infections in the Caribbean in 2019 were among young peoples 15 to 24. UNAIDS said while most Caribbean countries have been able to sustain HIV treatment access during the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic, there are concerns that other branches of the AIDS response have suffered. UNAIDS said that the global AIDS response was off track before the COVID-19 pandemic hit, but the rapid spread of the coronavirus has created additional setbacks. Modeling of the pandemic's long-term impact on the HIV response shows that globally there could be at least 123,000 additional new HIV infections and 69,000 additional AIDS-related deaths between 2020 and 2022. And finally, in neighboring Brazil, deforestation of the Amazon rainforest in the country has surged to its highest level since 2008, the country's space agency reports. A total of 11,088 square kilometers of rainforests were destroyed from August 2019 to July 2020. This is a 9.5% increase from the previous year. The Amazon is a vital carbon store that slows down the pace of global warming. Scientists say it has suffered losses at an accelerated rate since Jair Bolsonaro took office in January 2019. The Brazilian president has encouraged agriculture and mining activities in the world's largest rainforest. The Amazon is home to about 3 million species of plants and animals and 1 million indigenous people. Brazil had set a goal of slowing the pace of deforestation to 3,900 square kilometers annually by 2020. In addition to encouraging development in the rainforest, President Bolsonaro has also cut funding to federal agencies that have the power to fine and arrest farmers and loggers breaking environmental law. And that is it for our region news this evening. And I continue to urge our viewers to stay indoors, wear those masks, use those hand sanitizers, and continue practicing a social distancing. Back to you, Wendell.